there's so many people out there that are just not the right fit. And even if they had said yes, maybe they wouldn't have been the right fit anyway, and they would have been a burden. So you kind of have to focus on those as being actually positive for you because it drives you forward to have those no's. And something that's easy and it's definitely something I forget, but I have to say it is better to have fewer investors, but that are high quality and very relevant for what we're building and that really truly understand what we're doing. Yeah. Hi, I'm Jennifer Côté, and I'm the CEO and co-founder at Opalia, based in Montreal. And we make whole milk using bovine mammary cells. And we just closed, first closed 3.2 million Canadian rounds in our seed round.
Amazing. I'm super excited. This is just everything. Every time I interview these forms companies, I'm like thinking my breakfast is going to look very different. That's it. That's I'm transforming the breakfast for me and my kids. So I'm really excited about this conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time. Montreal, I haven't been to yet. So I have another reason to visit another friend in Montreal.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome anytime. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Jennifer, how did you meet your lead investors? Who are they?
Yeah, our lead investor is called Nadara Ventures. They're Canadian-based. We met them several years ago, actually. One of the managing partners was a advisor for a Women in Clean Tech accelerator program I did in 2022. So it's been over 4 years since I've been connected with my lead.
Amazing. And what was the kind of that due diligence process like for you from the time that you engaged to actually closing? How long did that take?
I would say from signature of the term sheet to actual close was about 10 months. The overall process pre-term sheets was maybe 3 to 4 months. So it was over a year from door to door for the whole process. Quite long.
Oh my gosh, that would probably a cow could be born in that process. So this is exciting. What was the biggest objection you felt like you had to overcome in that fundraise? Like, it's a 12 months, 14 months fundraise. What was the biggest thing that you felt like you had to get over in terms of objections, and how did you achieve that?
I feel our biggest objection was definitely kind of the reputation of the cell-based meat sector at the moment. It's definitely not the most positive outlook. So what we had to do is really differentiate ourselves from the cultivated meat technology, because in the cultivated milk space, we have different challenges. One being that we don't focus on the doubling time. That's not important for us because the cells are kind of used as bioreactors in a way. We just use the secreted product. We don't eat the cell. So that makes it easier and cheaper in a way to make our process economically viable. And then focusing on that differentiation and basically our IP and our competitive advantage really helped us overcome the reputation of other companies or other type of technologies in the industry.
Yeah, I think it's really impressive what you've done because, again, like a certain two-letter word, I'm going to use it, AI, where there's such a hype. Culture, that agriculture, if you were raising in 2020, 2021, it would be a different story. Now there's, you basically have to really be good in order to get through a lot of the objections. A way that sounds like is you handle objection by doubling down on the science, right? And saying, hey, this is where the differentiation is on the scientific kind of scale compared to what, you might have heard about mammalian cells.
Yeah, absolutely. We raised in safes in 2020, and it took me maybe 3 weeks to get a check, done and wired. So it's very, very different than that for sure.
Yeah, wow. 3 weeks to get it, and then 14 months to basically get the next one. Understood. Now, was there an alignment with this fund? I mean, from a mission standpoint, did they invest in agri-food tech in the past? Are they a generalist? Like, how did the missions line up to the fund?
Yeah, so they're a food and ag funds. They have invested in different technologies in the food industry. The managing partners both have a lot of experience in the agri-food industry. So it's definitely a sector-specific fund that has relevance for what we're building.
Okay, great. So they understood the space. They kind of kissed a lot of frogs. So they've seen different things come and go. So they had a really good understanding. It wasn't a tourist they had to convince. It was really somebody who was an insider.
Yeah, exactly. And the lead managing partner on the case, she had technical expertise, so she could also help non-technical investors navigate the due diligence by advising and kind of getting on calls to to do that due diligence and help.
Great. Canada is kind of become like a darling of the agri-food tech space from the government standpoint. There's quite a lot of like cash seems to be flowing into that. Were you guys benefiting any of that? Were you guys getting any R&D funding that was coming through the, the protein initiatives that Canada was focused on?
Definitely. We've maybe raised around $1 million, $1.5 million in non-dilutive funding since the beginning. So there's a lot of grants that are available for clean tech innovations, for food tech. There's a little bit more coming in for precision fermentation than cell-based at the moment. I think it's just more known than, mammalian-based technologies. So we're still waiting for that. But yeah, there's been a lot more funding directed towards clean tech and food in the past few years than before.
Yeah, I was just, I'm really impressed by what Canada has been able to do. And I look at the government level very much. Like I'm curious about how the governments play. We secured a lot of government funding from the company I work for, and it's quite interesting. And Canada is definitely punching above its weight. So congratulations on the 1.2, 1.5.
Yep.
What I'm really kind of curious about, I'm just going to go through some of the objections, the things that kind of come as like red flags. I'm curious how you handle it in the process, because the first comes up to like glass of milk in bioreactor. I'm like, why? Like cows are really good bioreactors. Like they're excellent. They replicate naturally. They're quite, we know the unit economics of cows, like why are we doing this? Like, why is this even necessary? Because it sounds like a very complicated problem to solve with the type of tech that you're building. Like beef, I understand, that's a high cost product, but you're dealing with milk. Like, I think milk is fine.
Definitely cows are, very biologically evolved to make a very complicated process. Milk is one of the most complex fluids produced by nature. And what's less efficient is that it's a 1,000-pound animal that has to eat to sustain all of the natural bodily function other than making milk. And while they do that, they obviously generate a lot of methane, which is, 100 times more potent than CO2, stays in the atmosphere longer. The amount of land that is necessary for the cows themselves, but also for the agriculture to feed the cows is also insane. So there's a lot of progress around the cow itself to make milk, the whole milk that we know. So that's kind of what Opalia is targeting, is to make the same milk, because we don't want to change or reinvent the wheel. We want to give the consumers what they want, the whole product. But by eliminating the 1,000-pound animal and the whole infrastructure that goes around, that is very inefficient if you think about it. And if I can add another point, it takes 9 months for a cow to gestate and then have a calf and then be in a state to make milk. And then we keep the cow in lactation for an additional 9 months. And that cycle is very inefficient. It has to be redone every year or so, and then or 4 years after the lactation, and then the cow is culled. So a lot of inefficiencies in that sense too.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is, look, there's an impact when it comes to sustainability. There's an impact on climate. There's an impact on kind of scaling that out would have more damage on the environment. And the second thing is, could there be a better way to do this regardless of the sustainability impact, right? Either do we want to be basically growing a cow for parts or growing a cow for, the milk, when honestly, they really care about is nobody actually, I think, you have to be pretty sadistic to think that this is probably something accounting uses as a conscious being. I don't think anybody's thinking that, but we need it, so this is a compromise we make. So it sounds like
need is an interesting word, though. Like you have to. It's more about wants. I think you drink another species' milk just because you like it. Like we're technically not even evolved to digest it. That's why so many people have lactose and casein allergies. We're not meant to be drinking or eating Opalia cow's milk. But we have to do it anyway, because that's, $1 trillion is a lot of demand for these products.
Yeah. Well, and we see also, the growth in whey protein demand. That's a really
Definitely
interesting driver for that.
And increased protein demand is also increased animal presence worldwide. And that means more animals stuck in the same place, which means more zoonotic disease risk, and then more antibiotics. So more antibiotic resistant risk. There's a lot of side effects that are related to increasing our consumption in protein. And the whole supply chain, don't even get me started. It's very complicated and sensitive to disruptions.
But one of the things, what people would argue when it comes to milk says, look, there's a pretty good solution out there, which is plant-based, right? There's 13 or say 15% of the market is already plant-based. Products don't taste perfect. They're pretty good. They're not bad. The functionality is not bad also. Is this really a problem that needs to be solved? It sounds like it will only be solved if the product tastes the same and the price point is the same. How do you go about educating and proving, hey, actually the price point can get to the same price point or below and the taste profile will be the same? Is there a way that you go take your customer through that journey to explain to them in simple terms of, hey, we think we can match flavor and taste and price?
Yeah. So we can definitely match taste and flavor and functionality because what we're producing is fundamentally the same as cow's milk. We've done mass spectrometry analysis and protein analysis, and we have the same 4 casein protein, same 2 whey proteins. We have supporting vitamins, minerals, fats, lactose, everything is present. So it will be really similar. And then in terms of price, that's the whole, ordeal. That's the bulk of the work that we're doing at Opalia is increasing our efficiency in our processes, increasing our efficiency in the media cost and eliminating as much as possible those costs there. We're developing our own bioreactor solution that's cheaper and more efficient to try to overcome that too. So our objective is to really compete with the price currently. And with all of the climate change risk and zoonotic diseases I was explaining earlier, we're likely to see a huge increase in the price of dairy currently, and we've been observing that in the meat sector, and it's something that we also use in our price comparison pitch, is that it's going to keep getting more expensive to eat animal protein and to consume real dairy.
One of the challenges I hear with that kind of narrative of, look, we're going to scale up. And when we scale, we'll get price parity, which is something they know. So the mammalian industry, cell culture industry has taken as well. It's right now, this bird is $1,000. But look, over the last 2 years, we went down from 10,000 to 10. Like it's already 10.99 before it was. So it's kind of that. How do you project how much money you need to raise to get to price parity when the technology developing is so novel? Like, how do you go through that exercise? Like, there's a lot, there are already all the knowns known. Or are there things, there's still a technological risk that you're on that, look, we honestly don't know exactly how much it's going to cost us to get to price parity from a CapEx and also from just OpEx standpoint. No, we have a pathway and now we understand what it will take. And this is the number they will take to get us there.
We do have a path. At Opalia, we've been very efficient with our capital. We've raised 6 million in 6 years compared to other companies who've raised hundreds of millions. And I would say we're pretty advanced in our development. So the next round, we anticipate, 7 to 10 million round to scale to about 1 million liters. So we're trying to stay as capital efficient as we can. And there's definitely a path to achieve price parity without crossing the bar of 20, 50 million. It's very feasible.
Wow. Okay. So when you say 1 million liters, is that 1 million liters of finished product, or are you thinking about 1 million liters of just production capacity?
Production capacity annual.
Amazing. Really, I'm really getting excited. I already got my basically my cup of cereal ready to go.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I keep going to the lab every day and ask if we have milk to try, or we're working on different experiments and try to work on different products like butter, like cheese. So I want to get a taste of that.
Montreal, it has a very good bagel culture. So I feel like cream cheese is, I'm basically coming straight for the bagels, and then we'll be with your, that's going to be in
that
there.
And poutine. I don't know if you're aware, but we have great poutine. I definitely, you should try it.
This trip is going to be booked right after this podcast. I can already see that. So regulatory, was there any objections about regulatory? Did you see that? How did you prove out to the investors, like, hey, regulatory, we're not concerned? Obviously, there's some good tailwinds from the administration, at least in the United States. Did you hire an agency? Did you go through a certain consultation? Did you have a letter? How do you deal with objection around a regulatory?
Yeah, so we've been working with the CFIA, which is the Canadian equivalent of FDA, USDA here. And since we started, really, we've been very transparent with our process and, everything that's in every step of the way so that regulators can have good visibility on the entire process. And we haven't had any objections. There's a lot of curiosity from the regulators about the process and how it works and how it's going to be regulated at the end of the day, because for milk specifically, we're kind of in a gray area between meat and precision fermentation in the sense that we use mammalian cells, but we don't eat them. So the level of investigation on the cell itself is lessened than when you would eat the cell. And then we're secreting a product just like a yeast or bacteria would do in precision fermentation. So we've been studying, along with consultants, both approaches to kind of form our own middle grounds. And we don't anticipate any more hurdles than what other companies have already overcame in the last few years.
So that was not an objection during the fundraise. None of the investors like, look, we need you guys to have already approvals on this, or they didn't feel that was a red flag for you. I speak with founders raising every day, and they're all telling me the same thing. It's harder than ever to find investors who are actually deploying, and getting access to those leads takes time founders just don't have. Every month fundraising is a month burning runway. This is why we created FTW Plus, a community of founders actively fundraising. The world's most accurate agri-food tech investor database, plus connecting you directly to ideal target investors and a community of support and accountability. Guaranteed results or your money back. Apply today at www.joinftw.com/hub.
No, they understand that's something we're going to do in the next 24 months with that funding, is to, have a clearer regulatory path and start filing for those regulatory jurisdictions. But we've done work with consultants and agencies already that kind of validate the proof points, and now we just have to build the files and go through the agencies over the next 24 months.
Okay, excellent. Anything about your data room that we can learn from, right? Anything about the structure of the data room? Just curious, did you guys use just a DocuSend, or did you use a Notion? Anything about the structure that you felt was helped guide people through that process?
Yeah, we did use DocuSend. We had a pretty, I would say, thorough data room. We've always been about transparency at Opalia, so pretty much everything is included in the data room from, IP, but a lot of the data that we've generated and all of the steps of the process, and everything from our IP strategy to regulatory strategy to commercialization strategy, like we want to be very thorough. So I would say having a very well separated file that all touch on different points and have clear identification for all your files so that it's easy to navigate. We've also done kind of a overview of the data room in one sheet with all of the files and what they can find in each. And I think that was easier to go through so that they could access the exact information they wanted to when they were exploring.
Nice. So the overview is basically an executive summary, and then here are the docs. Click here if you want to see regulatory, click here if you want to see IP, click here, right? Okay. I love, sometimes data rooms, I look at data rooms, I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. I'm like, did I just go into some Harry Potter, like jungle of some sort that I'm going to be gone forever? So that's
yeah, I'm very type A. It has to be super clear or not, or if not, I don't bother.
If it's not clear, I just don't read it. It's funny. I had a friend that actually reached out to me today, said he wanted me to introduce him to an investor. And the first thing when I go on because I basically speak like 3 or 4 founders like this every day, and I say, okay, just show me the deck before you explain to me. Say, show me the deck and don't talk. Let me just see the deck. Just go next. So it's like in one minute I looked at the deck and I said, I love you, but there's no way I can introduce you to anyone. You're not ready. You're not ready. This makes no sense. I'm going to explain you the whole, no. When you're looking at data room, you don't have a founder to explain, or the deck, you don't have someone to explain. So it should probably be pretty self-explanatory, So
yeah.
So that's I love that. I love that you did that work for them.
Yeah, I understand who's in front of me. I know that the attention span is very limited, so it's important to make use of that. I recently went to an AI talk, and they said that with AI, everyone has ADD, basically. They're all so used to getting information quickly that you have to be on top of your information, because they're just going to skip to the next, and they have access to everything now. So you really have to be better than everybody else.
That sounds like you've done that for the individuals who are at least looking at the data room process. In terms of setting the valuation, any guides, how you looked at valuations, how you looked with the valuation of the companies, comparables, what resources you used for that when you were discussing, this, because this is a priced round, right? It's not safe.
Yeah, it's a priced round. Valuations are tricky, especially because the industry is so new and the valuations were overinflated for for such a long time. I think the fact that we're in Canada also means something. We're used to more, I would say, down to earth valuations than maybe in the US or elsewhere. We used a bunch of comparables with the 2026 lens and with the Canadian lens, and we came to a number that we felt comfortable with and our investors felt comfortable with. And then during the round, there were some modifications just based on timing and wars and all of that. So it's not easy, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, me and my co-founder, we both knew when starting this company that dilution was a big thing, and we're trying not to raise too much and have good valuations to balance that. It is biotech, and it's a very capital intensive process that relies on equity most of the time. So that and a mix of non-dilutive capital, we're trying to balance our cap table that way.
Yeah. Was there any resource that you recommend? Were you looking at PitchBook? Were you getting other founders to give you kind of what their valuations were when they recently raised?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is there some place that you say, hey, look, this is what I use to figure out comparables?
Yeah, a bit of both. We've also used investors who haven't invested, but, are friendly, and ask them what they're seeing in the market at the moment. And yeah, that helped us kind of narrow it down.
Great. So it sounds like, honest conversations with people in the industry saying, where are we sitting at this moment in 2026? I'd love to get a reality check for our listeners of, like, how many funds would you say you engaged with over that fundraising process, like say 16 months? You're smiling. Can you give us a sense of where are we at in terms of just pipeline? Because then you had 3 that put money down, right? You had a lead and you had 2 follows. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had the lead. We had 2 new funds, and then 3 investors that reinvested.
Okay, great. So give us the whole pipeline, right? How many conversations happened during that fundraising process? How many were engaged? Maybe you can give us a sense of, like, time-wise, like, how long did it take you from a daily standpoint, just to get a reality check for founders of how long this process is taking nowadays?
Yeah. So in January 2025, when we came back from the holiday break, I had been working on my data room, and I thought I was ready to go fundraise. I had a few early conversations to kind of warm me up and kickstart the process. And I kind of realized that I needed to build a bigger pipelines to start with. So I ended up starting around March, focusing on finding a lead. And then I secured my term sheet around June. So it took a few months, and then negotiations obviously happened. And then I onboarded a bunch of new investors.
So because I'm really curious about this part of the process. How did you go about building that list of 350? Was that something just you found from other founders? Was it, again, PitchBook? Was it your investors? Like, what was because when you did the initial hit list, and was the process cold outreach, or were you leaning on your existing investors for warm introductions?
So it was a mix of everything. Been the founder of Opalia for about 6 years. Throughout those 6 years, I built a list of investors, and I've been keeping them warm for 6 years. And then I added, investor connections, founder connections to get warm intros. I also used a few lists that are out there for cold outreach, but those didn't work as well. Then I also did a lot of networking. So I went to, New York Climate Week, San Francisco Climate Week. I try to go to a lot of conferences and build my network in person and be really persistent and annoying with everybody. So I would say I engaged maybe over 350 to 400 investors throughout. And then I had active conversations with maybe 100 to 150.
I think that, first of all, you're a pleasure to speak with, and also I think part of that dedication is what shines through. Any mindset, methodology you could share with us that got you through the nose? Because that's a lot. We were talking about 350, come down to 150, come down to 3. We're talking about, it's basically a 1%, 0.75% conversion rate, essentially, right?
Depending on the investor, I think it was my first equity round. Didn't expect how long each investor's due diligence was going to be, especially in this climate. I feel like knowing that, I would have engaged even more investors at the time, because most of the time what happened is that we went like 2 to 3 months into due diligence to end up at a no, when I was sure it was a sure thing. It gets a little bit hard to manage when all of your leads all turn to no after 3 months, and then you have to kind of restart the process because you thought they were a sure thing, and you kind of not dismissed others, but didn't spend as much time with the other less far investors.
So just reflect on this. The mindset you have is, first of all, a no is just kind of a guide sign. It's taking us closer to the right yes, right? And I don't want the right, I don't want the wrong yes. That will actually kill the company. An investor understands what I'm doing, and I can appreciate the length of time maybe that it takes to build the solution, because it's the timelines are different than that I would see from a SaaS product, right? So, making sure that I'm taking the time out, that these conversations are relevant, is really critical. So taking more time, just about finding the right partner for you. Anything else about your mindset that we can learn from? Like, you said, it really shines through, but is there anything else that you would say, hey, this is really about how my mindset looks, that maybe it'd be a bit different than other founders? I was saying, anything else about your mindset that you can share with us that we can learn? Hey, this is how I see things. And maybe it's kind of contrarian, like other founders maybe see as different than other people. Like, I see failure as this, right? Or I see biotech as this, or I see due diligence and fundraising process like this. Then maybe other founders look differently and say, hey, but that's what I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can't lie that it's really hard. Even though you're prepared to hear a lot of no's, I think at the end you're just so fed up with being told no. You start to kind of doubt yourself, because you're like, if I heard that much no, then am I doing something wrong? I think you really have to focus on the fact that you end up narrowing down to the right people for you. Like, there's so many people out there that are just not the right fit. And even if they had said yes, maybe they wouldn't have been the right fit anyway, and they would have been a burden. So you kind of have to focus on those no's being actually positive for you, because it drives you forward to have those no's. And something that's easy, and it's definitely something I forget, but I have to say, it is better to have fewer investors, but that are high quality and very relevant for what we're building, and that really truly understand what we're doing. I had to build this technology, and with investors that just didn't understand the process and the effort that's required, it would be so much harder to have to go through walls to hear no's from committed investors than from people who 100% get it, who we are truly 100% transparent with, and that are really partners.
Yeah, I do appreciate them. Seeing already being in the industry for so many years, definitely see I can aversion a little bit to that style, which is very popular in 21, 22, 2020, like these big promises and the big statements. I think people are appreciating of saying, hey, look, this is what I believe. This is a risk that's out there. But, I'm going to work as hard as possible to hit these goals for you.
I would say maybe it's a Canadian thing, but I'm very transparent. I don't shy away from saying, here are the risks, here are the challenges, here's the it's going to take us to do all of that. If you're on board, you're on board. If you're not, it's not going to work. Like, I'm not someone that embellishes, or like, I do, a little bit, because we have to. We're based on an idea. It's not commercialized yet, but I try to stay as close to reality as I can. And I don't think that's something that a lot of people do. They prefer to exaggerate, and that's really not my thing. So investors know that I'm very, very transparent. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I tell them, for us, it's ride or die. It's the one thing that we're going to do until the end. And I think they appreciate how much commitment we put into this.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. I think our listeners have learned a lot from you and your mindset and how you've gone about this process. How can we give you back? What are you looking for in the next 12 to 16 months? If I'm listening to this podcast and I'm thinking about how to support you, what are you guys' needs right now?
Yeah, well, we closed the first close of 3.2, but we're still open for about 5 million up until July. So if there's any investors, corporate partners that are interested in joining, definitely reach out. And then we're in the process of scaling. So we're definitely looking for partners that can use our product, trial runs, give us traction on the commercial sides.
Are there samples available already?
Soon. I would say in the next 6 to 12 months, we'd be able to deliver samples and work on products.
So now like the commercial traction is more about just exploring the conversation, like from LOI standpoint and understanding you learning from those businesses what their needs are. And that capacity is for when you guys go online in the next year, right? So that it's already been sold out 80% of that capacity for testing and whatever it is, right?
Yeah, definitely. Also have, a commercial agreement already for about 80% of our production. So we do have limited capacity, but we are interested in exploring as many different avenues as we can.
And who's the right partner for you do you think for the second close? Is there any extension that's possible? Because July is coming around the corner. Is there any, if I'm listening to this, in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and my gosh, like, is there a way that this can move a little slower? Who is the right partner that you're thinking about?
Yeah. So it'd be a longer run. Yeah. The right partner is definitely someone with a lot of scale-up experience. In robotics, we're looking for a lot of technical partners around that. And then I'm afraid there's a hard stop at July because we've already closed. So we're open for 90 days following the close. But due diligence can go pretty rapidly since the term's already set and there's a bunch of investors help with due diligence. So
okay, amazing. Well, I'm really excited for the community to learn more about what you're doing, and congratulations on reaching this milestone. It's really amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
One more thing, don't close this episode yet. If you got value from this conversation, here's what I need from you. A 5-star rating, 1 comment, 20 seconds of your time. That's the deal. A 5-star rating means more founders find this content, and every time a founder raises, all boats are elevated. Every week, I pick 1 random comment and send that person a complimentary copy of Investment Climate, the book. 50 sales playbooks from founders who actually raise money during the fundraising winter. Real strategies, real closes, real numbers, not theory. So if you want a copy, comment below, and if you haven't followed the show yet, do that too. And if there's a guest you want us to bring on the show, just drop us a note or send us an email. We'll read each and every one. Until then, keep on raising.